The Little Red Book of Selling, 12.5 Principles of Sales Greatness, by Jeffrey Gitomer. Introduction. There are certain truths in life that feel so obvious, you wonder how you ever missed them. They're like a secret hiding in plain sight. One of those secrets is a simple paradox that governs almost every interaction we have, especially when it comes to business. It's this: people don't like to be sold, but they love to buy. Think about that for a moment. No one enjoys the feeling of being pushed, manipulated, or cornered into a decision. The moment we feel a salesperson is more interested in their commission than in our well-being, we put up a wall. It's a natural, human defense. But on the other hand, we all love the feeling of finding something that solves a problem, that brings us joy, that makes our lives better. We love to discover, to choose, and to own that decision. We love to buy. So if that's true, if people hate being sold but love to buy, then the entire game of sales, as most people play it, is completely backward. It's a game of pushing against a wall that we ourselves have created. What if there was another way? What if, instead of trying to sell, you could create an atmosphere where people want to buy? An environment built on trust, on value, and on a genuine desire to help? That is the question at the heart of a little book that has become a legend in the world of sales. It's not a thick academic textbook. It's small, it's bold, and it's bright red. It's called The Little Red Book of Selling by a man named Jeffrey Gitomer. Gitomer is not a theorist. He's a salesman who has made millions, not by using slick tactics or seedy tricks, but by understanding a fundamental truth about human nature. He writes with the blunt honesty of a Jersey guy who has learned his lessons in the trenches of Manhattan, and he has one central message: the secret to selling forever has almost nothing to do with selling. By the end of our time together today, you're going to understand the powerful shift in thinking that separates the top 1% of salespeople from everyone else. This isn't just about learning a few new lines or tricks. This is about understanding the psychology of buying, the importance of your own mindset, and how to build relationships so strong that the sale becomes the natural, easy conclusion. You'll learn not just how to make a sale, but how to make people want to buy from you, forever. Book summary. Most people who get into sales are taught the same old formula. They're given a product, a script, and a quota. They're told to prospect, present, and close. They are taught, relentlessly, how to sell. But Jeffrey Gitomer argues that this is the single biggest mistake a company or an individual can make. He says that the question, "How do I sell?" is a billion times less important than a much simpler question: "Why do people buy?" Because if you can understand the real reasons people choose to part with their hard-earned money, you can stop selling altogether. You can simply create the conditions where they choose to buy. And that changes everything. So, why do they buy? It's not because of your slick presentation. It's not because of your 10-page brochure. And it's almost never because you have the lowest price. Gitomer says the real reasons are far more human, and far more powerful. People buy because they like the salesperson. He calls this the single most powerful element in a sales relationship. Liking leads to trust. Trust leads to buying. They buy because they believe you and have confidence in you. They buy because they feel you genuinely understand their needs and are trying to help them build their own business, not just make a commission. In short, they see you not as a salesperson, but as a valuable resource. If you understand this, then you realize the first product you ever have to sell isn't a product at all. It's you. And that begins with an unbreakable philosophy that Gitomer calls principle number 1: kick your own ass. This isn't just a catchy phrase, it's the foundation of everything. Gitomer is brutally honest here. No one will do the work for you. Your boss isn't going to motivate you. Your company isn't going to hand you success. and the world doesn't owe you a thing. If you want an insurance policy for success, you have to issue it to yourself, pay for it yourself, and name yourself the beneficiary. This means you stop whining. You stop blaming the economy, the competition, or your company for your lack of results. If your company won't train you, you train yourself. If they won't buy you a laptop, you go to the computer store and buy one yourself. You take 100% responsibility for your own education, your own motivation, and your own success. It's about developing what he calls a yes attitude. This is more than just being positive. A yes attitude assumes that every interaction will start from a place of possibility, even when the initial answer is no. It's a deep, internal belief that you can, and you will, find a way. It's the voice of the little engine that could, whispering, "I think I can, I think I can." Once you've mastered this internal world of self-reliance, you can begin to prepare for the external world. And this leads to the next core idea: prepare to win, or lose to someone who is. Gitomer tells a wonderful story about a mentor who told him, "The workday starts the night before. While your competition is zoning out watching TV reruns, you are preparing." But what does it mean to be prepared? It's not about polishing your own PowerPoint slides or memorizing your product features. That's what every amateur does. True preparation is about them, not you. It means you've studied their website, you've searched their name online, you've read articles about their industry. You walk into a meeting knowing something about their business, so you can ask intelligent questions instead of the third dumbest question in sales: "So, tell me a little about your business." Walking in with that question is like holding up a giant sign that says, "I was too lazy to do my homework." This deep preparation naturally flows into the next powerful principle, which is about building a reputation long before you ever walk into a room. Gitomer puts it this way: personal branding is sales. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. Think about that. In a world of noise, how do you stand out? You don't do it by being another salesperson begging for 5 minutes of someone's time. You do it by becoming a person of value. A resource. Someone who gives away ideas and help so freely that people start seeking you out. This is the secret to eliminating the dreaded cold call forever. Instead of chasing customers, you attract them. Gitomer himself lives this. For over a decade, he wrote a weekly newspaper column and a free email newsletter, Sales Caffeine, giving away his best ideas. He never made a single sales call to book a seminar. They all called him. Why? Because he had already provided them with value. He had established his brand as the sales guy. You can do the same in your own field. Give free talks, write articles, share insights online. Be so helpful that when people in your industry have a problem, your name is the first one that comes to their mind. When you are properly positioned, you don't have to compete on price, you compete on reputation. And you'll find yourself meeting with CEOs and decision makers, not just people who have to check with their boss. This idea of giving first is so central to Gitomer's philosophy that it deserves its own principle. It's all about value. It's all about relationship. It's not all about price. Most companies talk about value added. This, Gitomer says, is nonsense. It implies that the customer has to buy something first, and then you'll add a little something extra. His philosophy is value first. Give them something valuable, an idea, a contact, an insight, with no expectation of return. This is how you build real relationships. This is how you make friends. And as he famously says, all things being equal, people want to do business with their friends. All things being not quite so equal, people still want to do business with their friends. When you lead with value and friendship, price becomes a secondary issue. He illustrates this perfectly with the example of a car dealership. One dealer sells the car for $100 less. But when you need service, it's a nightmare. You're waiting in line, they don't have the part, and you have to come back next week. At that moment, you don't remember the $100 you saved. You would have gladly paid $1,000 more for a smooth, respectful experience. When there's no value, all that's left is price. But when you sell on value and relationship, you attract the 60 to 70% of customers who are willing to pay for it, and you avoid the cheap bastards who are always a pain anyway. Building these valuable relationships doesn't just happen in the office. It happens out in the world. Which is why Gitomer insists, it's not work, it's any twerk. He sees networking not as a chore you do after hours, but as a mandatory, vital part of the job. It's where you turn cold calls into warm introductions. It's where you get to meet people face to face first, building rapport before you ever ask for a meeting. The rule is simple: go where your customers and prospects go. Join their trade associations, attend their charity events, show up at the Business Journal breakfasts. But don't just attend, participate. Lead a committee. Become known. The goal is to spend 75% of your time at these events with people you don't know. After all, as he asks, how many lifelong friends do you make from a cold call? Okay, so you've done the inner work. You've prepared. You've built your brand and your network. Now, you've finally earned a meeting. What do you do when you're sitting across from someone? First, you have to make sure you're sitting across from the right person. This is Principle 6. If you can't get in front of the real decision maker, you suck. This sounds harsh, but it's a wake-up call. If you hear the words, "This looks great, let me share this with my boss," you haven't had a sales meeting, you've had a practice session. You've just wasted your time. The real decision makers are concerned with profit and productivity, while lower-level employees are often just focused on price. So how do you find the real decision maker? You ask the most powerful qualifying question there is: how will this decision be made? When they give you an answer, you follow up with, "Then what?" You keep asking "then what?" 4 or 5 times, and like magic, the entire process, and the names of the real players, will be revealed to you. Once you're in front of that real decision maker, your job is not to talk. It's to listen. And to ask brilliant questions. This is the heart of the sale. Engage me and you can make me convince myself. A sale is made or lost based on the quality of the questions you ask. Dumb questions get you dumb answers. Questions like, "Who are you currently using?" or "Are you satisfied?" are dead ends. They lead to conversations about price and competition. But powerful questions make the prospect think in new ways. Instead of asking an insurance prospect, "What kind of life insurance do you have?" you ask, "If you passed away tomorrow, how would the house payments be made? How would your children go to college?" You see the difference? The first is about your product. The second is about their life. When you ask smart questions, they think you're smart. You stop being a salesperson and start being a consultant. The prospect starts selling themselves, because your questions are guiding them to their own conclusions. But the conversation isn't all serious business. The best salespeople know how to connect on a human level, which leads to one of Gitomer's most famous principles: if you can make them laugh, you can make them buy. Laughter is the sound of agreement. It's mutual approval. It breaks down walls and builds rapport faster than any sales technique on earth. This isn't about telling canned jokes. That's dangerous and often not funny. It's about telling stories, especially self-deprecating ones. Gitomer talks about his own hair loss, not as a point of vanity, but as a source of humor. By poking fun at himself, he puts everyone at ease. He argues that a friendly, funny salesperson will beat a professional one almost every time. Professionalism can be cold and distant. Humor is warm and human. It's not hard sell, it's heart sell. And the final piece of the conversation puzzle is about standing out from the crowd. It's Principle 9. Use creativity to differentiate and dominate. In a world where most products and services are seen as commodities, the only true differentiator is you and your creativity. This could be in your opening question, in your follow-up, or even in your voicemail message. Gitomer spends pages hilariously mocking the standard voicemail. "Hi, you've reached Dave. I'm either on my phone or away from my desk." No kidding? That's pathetic. Instead, he challenges you to be creative. Have your kid leave the message, "Hi, this is Dave's costly accident, Jason. He's out earning my college tuition." You can help by leaving a message that includes an order, or a testimonial from a customer. Something memorable. Something that makes people talk. Creativity is what turns a forgettable interaction into a remarkable one. Now, as the conversation comes to a close, you'll often feel a moment of hesitation from the buyer. There's a fear, an unspoken risk that holds them back. Your job is to uncover it and eliminate it. Reduce their risk, and you'll convert selling to buying. The biggest barrier to a sale is often the buyer's unspoken fear. What if it doesn't work? What if my boss gets mad? What if I find it cheaper next week? These are the invisible walls. Instead of pushing harder, your job is to simply ask, what's the risk here, and what's the reward? By helping them list out the risks, and then systematically removing each one with guarantees, refunds, or social proof, you make the decision to buy feel safe, easy, and smart. And the most powerful risk remover of all is the final piece of the puzzle. When you say it about yourself, it's bragging. When someone else says it about you, it's proof. This is the power of testimonials. A satisfied customer is the most powerful person on your sales team. They can outsell you 100 to 1 because they have what you never will: complete objectivity. When they tell a prospect, "I was worried about the price too, but it was the best investment I ever made," they overcome objections in a way you never could. Gitomer urges you to not just collect written testimonials, but to create video testimonials. Take your best customer with you on every sales call, on video. Let them tell your story. Let them provide the proof. So we have the internal mindset, the external preparation, the relationship building, the conversation, and the proof. But Gitomer adds 2 final philosophical principles to tie it all together. The first is antennas up. This is the 6th sense of selling. It's a state of constant awareness. Being alert to opportunities everywhere, in an airport line, at a coffee shop, even, as he hilariously recounts, in the men's room at LaGuardia Airport where he struck up a conversation with the actor Hal Linden. It's about paying attention to the world around you, because you never know where your next great connection will come from. And finally, the principle that puts everything else into perspective: resign your position as general manager of the universe. What does he mean by this? He means stop wasting your precious time and energy on things you cannot control. Stop getting caught up in office gossip, celebrity drama, or political arguments. Every minute you spend in someone else's business is a minute you're not spending on your own success. The path to greatness is to focus intensely on your own world, your attitude, your skills, your family, your goals. This final principle brings you right back to the first one: kick your own ass. It's a cycle. A success cycle. In the end, the Little Red Book of Selling isn't just about selling. It's about a philosophy of life. It's about taking ownership, providing genuine value, building real relationships, and having fun along the way. It's about creating an atmosphere where people don't just buy from you, they are loyal to you. And that is how you make sales forever. Commentary. As we close the pages of Jeffrey Gitomer's Little Red Book of Selling, what stays with me is not a list of techniques, but a feeling. It's a feeling of empowerment. It's the realization that success in sales, and maybe in life, isn't about mastering some complex, secret formula. It's about mastering the fundamentals. It's about mastering yourself. Gitomer's genius is his ability to cut through the noise. In a world that constantly tries to sell us complicated solutions, his message is refreshingly simple. Be a person of value. Be prepared. Be authentic. Be funny. And most of all, believe in yourself so fiercely that you don't need anyone else's approval to do the hard work. The most powerful lesson in this book, for me, is the shift from a mindset of taking to a mindset of giving. The traditional view of sales is a zero-sum game. For me to win, you have to lose. I have to take your money. Gitomer flips this entirely. He argues that the only way to truly win is to give first. Give your knowledge, give your help, give your time. When you make your primary goal to help the other person succeed, the sale becomes a natural byproduct, not a battle to be won. It becomes an act of service. This philosophy is timeless because it's built on the bedrock of human nature. We are drawn to people who are genuine, who make us laugh, and who we believe have our best interests at heart. Tactics change, technology evolves, but these truths remain constant. So, how can you start putting this wisdom into practice, right now, today? Here are 3 simple actions you can take. First, fix your voicemail. Seriously. It's a small thing, but it's a powerful symbol. Change that boring, generic message into something that reflects your personality. Make it creative, make it funny, or make it valuable by offering a quick tip. It's your first step in differentiating yourself from the sea of sameness. Second, for the next week, adopt the mantra, give value first. Before you ask for anything from anyone, a client, a colleague, a friend, ask yourself, what can I give to them first? It could be an article, a useful contact, or just a genuine compliment. Watch how it changes the dynamic of your interactions. And third, resign from one thing. Resign from being the general manager of that one piece of office drama, that one political argument online, or that one celebrity story you've been following. Take the 30 minutes you would have spent on it and invest it back into yourself. Read a chapter of a book, research a potential client, or just sit quietly and think about your goals. Reclaim your focus. That was a summary of The Little Red Book of Selling by Jeffrey Gitomer. We've covered the core principles today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary is like looking at a photograph of a great meal. You can see what it's made of, but you can't taste it. The real magic happens when you read the book yourself. It's in the blunt, funny, and deeply wise way Gitomer tells his stories. This summary is here to help you decide if this book deserves your time. If anything we've talked about has sparked something in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just learning, it's an experience that can genuinely change the way you approach your work and your life. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to click that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.